Today we've got a unique program for you. My name's Cynthia Brubaker, and we're going to bring you a joining together of conversations, which is led by Isaac BenEzra, and Neighbor to Neighbor. So we're going to have a kind of a combining of the two. And Isaac BenEzra is the guest today, or is my whatever.
I'm happy to be the guest.
Okay, we're gonna be in a conversation together, and we're going to talk about retirement and transitions in life when retirement comes about. And he is full of wisdom and ideas about this because he's retired and started new careers throughout his life. But since he's lived in Amherst, I'll tell you a little bit about what he's done here. He's the past president of the Amherst Senior Council. He was elected to the Hampshire Council of Governments, past president of the Senior Action Council, and that's a Massachusetts organization, so it's statewide. Been a town meeting member for the last 12 years, past president of ACTV, now Amherst Media, board of directors, and the chief negotiator in our contract with the town and Comcast. And he is also the representative now on the board of Amherst Media, representing the town of Amherst. So he's very busy. He is one of the busiest people that I know. But he's also very reflective about his life and what he's doing and how he's keeping his strength up and his enthusiasm up. He also ended his career when he moved here 15 years ago as a social worker, and also doing adjunct teaching at Bucks Community College in Pennsylvania. His degree was in social work from the University of Pennsylvania, and he had a long, wonderful 55-year-old marriage to Hilda. And since her death, it's been a whole new journey, and we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So Isaac, let's start with, what do you want to start with? Where do you want to start?
Well, Hilda and I came to this town in 1995, rented a furnished apartment from a professor who was going on a sabbatical right across the street from Kendrick Park on North Pleasant Street. And we decided we weren't going to burn any bridges, but we were going to consider retiring here because we have our daughter Amy and her family. And that we were both 70 years old, and we both had incurred some physical and problems. And so the issue of the next 10 to 15 years was something that we had to address.
Mm-hmm. And you were also leaving behind a community that you were embedded in Pennsylvania.
I was a troublemaker in Bucks County, and I found my niche right here.
Oh, where else?
With a bunch of wonderful troublemakers. Yes. I wasn't alone. I never was alone.
So you pulled up stakes and came here, because my husband and I are at that age now, where we're newly retired and we're facing some of the things you were facing then, about lifestyle and where you live and all of that. So when you got here, what did you do first?
Well, the first thing I had to do was to learn to walk again. I was recovering from a very serious car accident and it took me a year to be walking. And when we got here, I was able to walk about a block. But my goal was to get to the library, to the theater, and then to the bank center during that period of 8 months, which I managed to do. And
did you jump right into politics, into town politics?
Oh, no. But when I got to the bank center and I heard that people were volunteering to teach courses, I met Nancy and said, I'd like to teach a class here. I'm going to be here until December. We were renting from May to December, and then in that time, we'd make a decision about what we wanted to do. Should we look for a house or forget about it? She said, well, what do you want to teach? I said, well, let me think. How about transitional issues in retirement and the consequences of social policy change around Medicare and Social Security?
Yes.
She said, well, nobody's ever taught that before.
Did you get a good turnout?
So I had the Dizards, that was George and I'm having a mental block. And his wife, how can I forget? And well, that's part
That
of being
happens, exactly.
part of being 85.
Yeah.
And some others that became friends after a while in town. And it was an introduction to the community, and it's what I needed, because I needed to find that connection, because we had been we created a new town and it's called Levittown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yes.
The steel mill came to town, and then 17,000 homes were built.
When was that?
Between 52 and the present. And so we had to create all the institutions. So it was at age 28, it was a wonderful time
exciting.
to create our own new town.
Yeah.
At any rate, so that was very hard to leave. Hilda became a high school librarian and had many wonderful friends. So she was reluctant to leave town, and I was reluctant, but necessity was calling, and it was a recognition that there's a time for everything. And I have to say that when people said, you really didn't stop running once you hit the sidewalk, and I said, I don't have 42 more years to create community, so I gotta run.
You gotta work
I
twice
gotta
as hard.
run if I can't run.
And you are. Okay, well, I want to ask you a question. This is a little bit more about how your philosophy of life. What is it that sustains you? Because you've got so much commitment and dedication to the community, to social change. What is it in you that sustains this?
Well, it came out of necessity in terms of my own values. We were on welfare during the Great Depression. My father was not working. We were a new immigrant family. I was born here. And the issues of the Great Depression fell very heavily on families who were economically really not secure. So that was one piece. And then there was the community that I lived on, the Lower East Side, where there was flaming liberals, progressives, communists, socialists. There was a street speaker every night on some issue. So I got my early training from what was going on during the Great Depression. That's why I connect so strongly with the issues that this new generation is facing, and it chills me to think about it.
Yeah. So you
the other part.
Go ahead.
The other part was getting involved in my early teenage years in the world of work. And there's a union song, "Which side are you on? Which side are you on?" They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You're either a good working guy or a fink for J.H. Blair or something like that. But that's my philosophy. Early in life I decided there was a big difference between the haves and have-nots. And I was living with the have-nots. And going into the labor movement was a necessity. It was a way to find a way to deal with not a personal issue, but an issue that overwhelmed millions of young people growing up during that period of time, leading to World War II, which we'll talk about a little later.
Okay.
So that's the beginning.
Yeah. And were your parents activists?
Oh no,
No, they were just trying to adjust to a new.
They came to America. My father left Turkey in 1910, and my mother came over, I think, 3 or 4 years later.
From Turkey?
From Turkey.
Both of them?
Yeah, that was a very difficult time. Jewish persecution was just a part of the air in the Middle East in that period of time. And Turkey, which had become a haven for Sephardic Jews who left after the Inquisition in Spain.
Oh yeah, and went there.
Went to a very progressive, over the years, wound up some in Turkey, some in Africa, some in Morocco, some in all over the world. And that's where my ancestors finally showed up.
Well, let's see. There are a couple of things I also want to ask you about. You mentioned social policy. Can we talk about that for a minute? Medicare, Social Security, what's going on now with efforts to dismantle it?
Sure.
Because this is a big focus for you.
You have to, first of all, what was my benchmark? My father never had Social Security, so the only thing that the family relied on was something called home relief in those days. Workers didn't have Social Security. Social Security came about in the 30s as part of the struggles of the progressive and labor movement, and during the Franklin Delano Roosevelt administration. We could learn a lot of lessons today from that. Housing was just not available. Housing was tenements. That's an experience in itself. There is a museum.
Oh, I've been there, the tenement
on
museum.
the Lower East Side, which
wonderful.
Kind of like the apartment.
Yeah, really? Like the one you lived in?
Yeah.
Wow.
With a shaft and no heat.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone should go visit that.
That's why I developed rheumatic fever when I was 8 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And had to be away for a period of time to convalesce.
Yeah. Oh, where did they send you?
So it was called Irvington House on the Hudson, and that's when I discovered that trees have snow on it, and fir trees, and I looked out at the Hudson River, and it was really a lifesaver.
Yeah.
I spent a year and a half in
getting well.
Getting well, yeah.
Wow, that just reminded me you're also an artist. I didn't even bring that into it. We'll have to touch on that. Your sculpture.
Well, that started when I was in the hospital for 6 months. My sister brought me some clay, and I'd make little squares, a big square for the body of the car and a little square for the motor, and I would imagine while I was in bed, cops and robbers. And then I started to play with the clay, and then I realized that was just a great way to express how I felt.
All your life you were doing that?
I started at 8 years old. Yeah.
And do you do it now at all?
Then I do it occasionally. I've taken some courses at Hampshire and at UMass in my later years.
Okay.
In my later years.
Early. Now they do say the young old, the old, the old.
But I made some great friends at
and you do wonderful work. I mean,
you.
that's a whole career in itself.
Well, it was a career that I never really could continue with because I needed to work. And I didn't have an undergraduate degree at the time. That was something that I had to achieve later.
Well, okay, how did you meet Hilda? How did that happen?
I went to an adult camp, a union camp, called Camp Unity in Wingdale, New York. And that's a really interesting story. They had little cottages for the men and for the ladies, but people would get together and sit around on the cots until supper time. I came up one weekend and I was assigned to a cottage. I didn't know anybody, and there was this group of about 6 persons having an interesting conversation. And Hilda was sitting on the bed that I was assigned to.
Ah!
So that...
Prophetic.
That told me something.
And you went out, did you go over and introduce yourself right away?
I said to her, I'd like to have a dance with you tonight after dinner.
Great.
I was curious.
Yes.
I was getting very forward. I wanted to find a friend, a lady friend.
Yeah, you were ready.
I was ready. Oh, yeah. Hot potatoes.
And how long was it before you knew that you were destined to be together?
Well, I proposed to her 2 weeks later.
You were
but
ready.
It took us 3 more weeks to arrange the wedding. So I had to introduce her to one of my big brothers. So we went to Washington together, and we're walking, and my brother and I walking alone, and the ladies are a little further away. And my brother says to me, Isaac, how long do you know Hilda? And I said, he's not going to believe this. So I said, 4 weeks. It sounds a lot more than 2 weeks. He said, isn't that kind of short? In my head, I said, gee, I'm glad I didn't say 4 weeks, 2 weeks. Anyway, we fell in love. We fell in love.
Oh.
It was, would I recommend it to others? Well, 50% have been around a lot longer together and don't make it.
Yes.
So I think the answer is in each individual, and we grew together. I learned that, you know, and I always ask the question, how am I going to know when I'm in love? How do you know? How do you really know? And the answer is you don't really know until you've been with a partner for a while.
And you've been through things together.
You know, is it infatuation?
Yeah.
The chemistry is right. You have the same values. You're excited to be together. You want to be together all the time. And it persisted for 55 and a half years.
Well, one of the things that happens as you get older is that we lose the people often that we love, family members, friends. I lost my sister this year. You know, I'm beginning to lose peers, and not my spouse yet, but you've been through kind of the ultimate loss. What got you through that?
We built our house in Amherst together. It's the first house we've ever built together, you know, and because I have an artist background and I did drafting in one of my jobs, I designed the house that I'm living in today. And then I got an architect to draw up the plans, Steve Wolf, who's a neighbor, a very good guy. And that house was the last 10 years of our life together. And when she passed away, I stayed. I'm still in that house. It's 5 years later. I think I have a buyer.
Oh, good.
I'll know in a week or so.
Great.
But that's another adjustment that I have had to make, and because we were going to talk about transitional issues.
What got you through that?
Well, I was going to say that Amy and Farns, my son-in-law, decided that together we would build a bump out on their house on South East Street.
Where you're moving. So
I've got a private entrance, private area, and we share a kitchen, and there's a room, there's a door adjoining, but I have my own privacy, and I will be moving in at the end of this month.
This is another big transition.
That's another transition, and it took me a long time because we've been talking about this for a couple of years, but I was not ready. I'm ready now because I realize that I ain't going to live forever, and if I'm going to make this decision, I want to do it voluntarily.
Oh, right.
That's another thing. I think people forget. They say, well, I'm not ready to think about this. You don't know when you're going to need to be in a different kind of position. And so the issue of how do you want to spend the rest of your life absent being in the hospital or a nursing home because you have no choice. That's a big decision. Not everybody has the kind of family situation.
Yeah, you're lucky to have that.
And I know a lot of people in town who are getting to be 85 and older and some have been talking to me. How do you handle these things? And I think the answer is you have to love living, and you have to see living in terms of the other things in your life, whether it's with an existing partner or without a partner, but with community and with family. And that's that's been the concrete that's held me up during this period. I don't like being without a wife. In fact, I had a dream last night. But as soon as I
about her?
Yeah, I dreamt about her, but damn it, I went to put my hand over on the other side of the bed, and there was nobody there. So it seems to be, I'm trying to have a visit. I'll take any kind of visit.
A visit, that's nice. And in your dreams, you do kind of have a visit.
Yeah, and that's the part that carries you, because your memories don't die.
Yes, yes.
And that's such an important part of solidifying, getting by day to day,
Yeah.
and saying, okay, this is the way it is. And having a loving family to share, and seeing I have a kid a grandchild that's going to graduate from high school.
It's I think for me it's very satisfying to see that grandchildren, that them coming along, moving up, and you kind of see the cycle of life and your place in it, and they're coming along, and that's comforting to me. I like seeing the flow of life, and you have your time in it and you make the most of it.
There are two things that I want to share with you. I must have had about 12 families, and many of them from our town, who are living in these big houses, who've come by to see, because they know that the house I live in was built for no steps. If you want steps, that's for the guests in the lower section. But everything is totally compatible to living easy on one level. Even the walkway into the screen porch and then right into the house. So, and that's what I'm finding. I'm finding colleagues, some people who I've just met for the first time, who have come to see the house. Now, not everybody is going to be able to build a house, and not everybody is going to be able to have the money to have the kind of house that I put together. But we're fortunate. We have all kinds of housing in this town. One of the things that I feel very proud of when I came to Amherst is that they care about senior citizens. They care about the disabled population. So you got the Clark House and the Whalen House and the Chestnut Court area. And I thought that was really...
It is, I did too.
It's a tremendous social value in this town, that they didn't put the old people and the disabled off in the woods so they'll never be seen or heard from again.
Yeah, they're right in the
center
of
I think
town.
this town has something to be proud of.
Yeah, and you said there was another thing, the housing and living on one floor. You said there were two things that you've gotten from these people that have been looking at your house. They need to have...
Also being part of the community, still being part of the community.
Yeah.
See,
You're very...
I'm less than a half mile from the high school, junior high school, elementary school, a mile or less than a mile from UMass. Strong Street goes right to UMass and then over to Amherst College.
And you're at Farmers Market every Saturday, so you're up there mingling.
Well, that's my temple.
Ah, yeah, meeting with people and
that's
seeing...
my temple.
Well, that's a good sustenance.
Okay, I go there every Saturday on Shabbos.
I hear you. Well, let's see. Another thing I wanted to talk about is keeping physically fit. And you've had health problems for a while, but you have really attended to them. What are you doing now for your physical strength?
Well, I go to the YMCA on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning, and there's a heated pool, and I'm part of a arthritis class with about 20 ladies. And they baby me to death, and I love it.
Yeah, I can just see it now.
I love it.
That's a motivator to get you there.
I always liked women, so
that's fun.
And I want women as my friends.
Yes, of course.
I don't, I'm not exactly in a romantic way at this point. I'm hobbling along with my walker. But some people might find that attractive.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, that's all they need is somebody to take care of who's 85. So I'm not dating, but I want friends.
Yes. Well, you've got a wonderful support group and friendship group that you nurture. Yeah. You're always with your friends, and you're not just friends, but you're always talking with people, meeting with people, getting out and about. But okay, so you do, I wanted to get back to the physical part.
And then I'm presently one-to-one in physical therapy at Cooley Dickinson Hospital,
Oh.
trying to get my left side strengthened. That's where I took the biggest hit when I had that accident. And then I recently, a couple of years ago, dropped on the floor and broke my hip.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
So I'm constantly getting off the floor.
Picking yourself up.
The police department and the fire department, I support them 100%.
Yes. Well, that is very important.
I make sure that they're never slouching on the job.
Now, do you wear this? Is that a alarm, medic alert?
Yeah, this is at night. Where is it?
Here, there it is, right there. Yeah.
Have I got it?
So that if anything happens.
You're not talking about this.
Yeah. What is that?
No, that medical alert is on my walker.
Oh, okay.
I left it home because it only works.
Well, what is that?
This is my car.
Oh, your
This is
car,
my
to open your
control car.
car.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
But you have, because a lot of people now have that medic alert.
$35 a month, and I've used it, unfortunately, but fortunately, at least 3 times. When somebody has to scrape me off the floor when I fall,
So the
because
police
I cannot get up.
the fire
my
comes.
knee doesn't hold me.
Yeah, that's scary.
Well, that's one of the reasons you have to start to say, how long do you want? Does this independence mean you have to be foolish? Can you have both? Is there a way to? And then I realized I was going to my daughter's to recuperate every time I went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so, the rules of life have kind of, you pay attention to your body, pay attention to reality, and there is a life. There is somehow there is a life after the life you've had, and it's a matter of having some voice in controlling that.
I think control is a big issue, and I know people now who are having to give up driving, and that's very hard because that means mobility to a lot of people.
I'm having that discussion right now with my kids.
Yeah. Are they saying it's time to stop driving?
Well, it's okay to drive local, they say, but they don't want me to go up to Maine by myself. Or to New York.
I agree with them.
Well,
because you're all by yourself.
I'm not ready to deal with that.
Okay, we'll put that on the back burner.
I'm not ready to deal with that.
Because that's giving up something.
I have used PVTA after every hospitalization, so I'm not adverse. I think we're wonderfully endowed in this town to have PVTA. You just call 24 hours in advance, and they'll take you to the Y, they'll take you to the shopping, they'll take you to a friend's house, take you to the theater.
Is this free?
No, it's $2.50 each way.
I wonder what happens with people that don't have.
Well, talk to Nancy Pagano.
Yeah,
on
I
the
bet there's
social
some
work.
sort
I think they've got. I think they have tickets.
Yeah.
They're discounted tickets. At any rate, we'll find a way. If you've got that problem, contact Nancy. I know she'll be happy that you know that I recommended it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, now, okay, so you've got these wonderful. You're taking care of your health. You've got great friends. You've got family.
But there's something else that I have to take care of.
Okay, what is it?
It's not ordained that we're going to have Medicare or Medicaid. Right now, the vultures are out there saying we can't afford middle-class people anymore, let alone poor people.
Yeah.
And I want to make a pitch. Wake up. You 50 and 55-year-olds need to have the same social network that we have, that we fought for, that I fought for in 1965 when we had the discussion about Medicare. I remember organizing in Levittown after the Medical Society set up a committee to oppose Medicare. The next day we announced in the paper that we had a committee to support Medicare. And we debated the AMA and the John Birch Society.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice combination.
Yes.
That's the Sarah Palins of the past.
Yeah, the John Birch Society.
And of course, we won that fight, and today I'm alive because of Medicare.
Medicare.
And it's affordable because of Medicare.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to have it.
Me too.
We need Medicare for all.
Yes.
From birth to death.
Yeah, we certainly do.
And if we have a problem paying for it, get the hell out of Afghanistan
Exactly.
now. And don't go to Libya. We can't solve everybody else's problems.
Yeah, I think we're making a big mistake where our priorities are totally screwed up.
So somehow or other, I got to fit that into my schedule.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things
But
that's
I get
keeping
tired.
you going.
I have breakfast, and all of a sudden, I'm out for a half hour sitting in the chair.
Oh, that's okay.
Well,
I think.
one of these days, I'm gonna. What I'm really trying to say is that we have the desire, but we have to find ways to share our experiences and make it possible for others to march. I'm not ready to march. I'd love to march, but I'm not ready to march
It
anymore.
kind of turned the hand.
And that's why this has been such a wonderful part of my life, ACTV. Building this to the point where we're now recognizing this community as an essential part of the conversation in our
Absolutely,
town.
I totally agree with you on that.
And that I've helped to bring wonderful people like you on board.
And we're going to continue to get new people on board.
So that's I'm, and so I guess I'm going to have some programs on Medicare now.
Yes, and Social Security
I can't get on a soapbox on the corner.
No.
I can't stand. But I can have my
You have a
soapbox
megaphone.
right around the I found another way to communicate.
Yes. Well, we're going to end it there.
Is it time?
It's time to end.
It's fun.
It's been fun, and it's been short, but it's been pithy and full of good things. And I think one of the things that really keeps you going is you are so committed to leaving the world a better place, to doing what you can politically or in policies. I hear you at town meeting. You are always the voice of those that really don't have much and need a voice. So I think that really keeps you vital and young and inspirational to all of us. So I want to thank you all for joining us today with Isaac BenEzra and hearing about his transitions in his life. And we're all going through transitions, so there's something to learn there. And so thank you, Isaac, for sharing all this. It's great. The ladies' man. Always the ladies' man.
Not really.
No, I know. So thank you, Amherst Media, and all the staff, the camera people, the editing. We enjoy bringing our programs to you.